Developing tonight, a deadly train crash in Blackstone. It happened around 9:30 this morning. Investigators say a Norfolk Southern train hit someone who was on the tracks. We're still working to find out who died. Stay with 8 News for updates. And also developing now out of Richmond, a woman is in the hospital with critical injuries. Police say she was shot on the north side early this morning. It happened here on Hickory Street. Investigators haven't released any information about who they think shot that 22-year-old. A Virginia woman is being sued for running an illegal medical facility in Uganda. Renee Bach, who you see in this video about her nonprofit, grew up in Bedford County. She claims her nonprofit treated thousands of children suffering from severe malnutrition. But a lawsuit against her says she's responsible for the death of hundreds of children in Uganda. The lawsuit claims she gave medication to the kids without proper training. Senator Kane will be in Henrico tomorrow to talk about an increase in vaping in young people. He is one of the co-sponsors of a bill that would raise the smoking age to 21 nationally. The smoking age is already 21 right here in Virginia. The roundtable will be at the Libby Mill Library starting at 10 o'clock in the morning. And tomorrow marks 1 year since GRTC opened the Pulse bus line in Richmond. The bus route carries an average of nearly 7,000 riders each weekday, nearly doubling the initial goal of 3,500. Nearly 2 million people have ridden a Pulse bus since it launched. And happening tomorrow in Richmond, the historic horse racing machines will arrive at Rosie's. The Midlothian Turnpike location at the old Kmart site is expected to open Monday, July 1st. Rosie's hiring 225 people for the Richmond location, and 800 new employees will be hired across the state. Chesterfield County wants to know what you think about plans to redevelop downtown Midlothian.
Most accurate forecast in Central Virginia. Now, your Storm Tracker 8 weather.
In the Storm Tracker 8 Weather Center with meteorologist Travis Michaels. Now at 6, we were looking at flooding in China. Now we're looking over here. Very similar. Cars just getting swept away. Yeah. Roads just being taken over by all this flood water.
Yeah, flooding is not something to be underestimated by any means. And when you see flooding, you want to avoid it as much as possible. Right. Again, we're not expecting any real flooding along the East Coast, but in the Midwest, as we just...
It was really scary, really scary. It's kind of in and out of consciousness for those hours too. You know, I'd kind of wake up to get sick.
Central Virginia newlyweds Derek and Skylar Martin had their vows put to the test just a week after saying I do. Hours into their honeymoon in the Dominican Republic, Skylar fell seriously ill. Her story joins a long list of others who've reported becoming ill in the Dominican Republic. Several of them have died. Tonight, the Martins have a warning for those considering an island vacation there. 8 News reporter Gretchen Ross is live outside Richmond International Airport with the story. Gretchen?
Juan, Derek and Skylar are glad to be back home here in Virginia tonight after a scary start to their new life together. Now, they tell me that they were staying at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Punta Cana, and what started off as their dream honeymoon quickly turned into a nightmare.
I love you.
It's been a whirlwind few weeks for newlyweds Derek and Skylar Martin.
Seeing my best friend come down the aisle really sort of calmed me down.
The couple married June 8th.
It was perfect. No complaints.
The honeymoon was booked at the Hard Rock Hotel in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic.
The Hard Rock was pretty Americanized, and you felt pretty safe going down there.
The two had seen reports of other visitors getting sick, but were assured the hotel was safe. The Martins arrived Friday afternoon.
The room was great. Everything had been going really well.
After exploring the resort Saturday,
around midnight, got to the bathroom, violently ill, vomiting every 15-20 minutes for about 6 hours, so it only stopped around 6 a.m. I had a high fever, chills.
Skylar was taken to a nearby hospital.
They administered fluids, took vitals again. They did a blood analysis, a fecal, and a urine, and they came back with, you have this bacterial blood infection.
Skylar was prescribed 6 medications and is waiting final test results for the cause.
Sort of made our decision to come home was that they couldn't give us any answers as to was it the food, was it the alcohol, was it the pools.
The Martins stress, think twice before you travel.
Really, really terrifying, and we're just glad to be back.
Now, the Martins tell me that the resort did pay for their medical bills as well as transportation, that flight change, and the 4-night stay that they missed. They also tell me that while they were in the hospital, they chatted with other visitors who were sick, that they said they were staying at different resorts. I reached out to the Hard Rock Resort today and have not heard back. Reporting live in Richmond, Gretchen Ross, 8 News. Thanks, Nick. Senator Tim Kaine is working to stop gun violence on a federal level. Now, you may remember we told you last week that he's pushing a plan that would require universal background checks for gun buyers. He says he is pushing for gun control in honor of the victims of the Virginia Beach shooting and recent violence right here in Richmond.
And how sad it is that these shootings, they're sad, however, and wherever they occur. A nightclub, a school, a corner in Richmond. We had the murder of a 9-year-old and the injury of an 11-year-old 2 weeks ago in a neighborhood park.
Republicans in Congress have pushed back against these types of plans. So far this year, there have been 28 homicides in the city of Richmond. The most recent happened Friday night on Old Warwick Road. Arthur Robinson was killed. Last year at this time, only 23 people had been killed. And just a reminder that Governor Northam called a special session of the General Assembly in the wake of the Virginia Beach mass shooting. State lawmakers will gather on July 9th to talk about possible gun control measures. Stay up to date with our Capitol Connection. You can find it at our website, WRIC.com. Let's take a live look outside now this Sunday evening and turn to Storm Tracker 8. A beautiful summer weekend right here in RVA. We want to get the latest from Storm Tracker 8 meteorologist Travis Michaels. It was picture perfect this weekend, but it's going to be pretty hot this week.
Yeah, that's right. Those lower
Cities in Richmond public housing developments, 8 News is getting answers. RRHA's new CEO Damon Duncan says he'll work with police to reduce the violence. 8 News reporter Gretchen Ross sat down with him. She's in our digital center now to explain his plan. Gretchen?
Juan, just on the job for about 4 months, CEO Damon Duncan is already casting his vision for the Big 6 housing courts. But before long-term plans are announced, he wants to control the violence for residents.
But we want to build for future generations and build communities that are responsible.
Richmond Redevelopment and Housing Authority CEO Damon Duncan has big plans for the city's housing courts.
Getting out and making sure that we have opportunities to meet face-to-face and one-on-one with residents and not just in meetings.
Duncan's #1 priority, safety. After talking with residents, RRHA plans to partner with Richmond Police to start a new initiative.
Foot patrols, bicycle patrols, as well as some undercover detective work.
With a $300,000 grant, the Housing Authority also plans to beef up security in the courts.
Currently have cameras, and there are a lot of blind spots associated with those cameras, as well as provide some cameras that the officers have direct access to.
Duncan also calling on city leaders to join him for a walk with the CEO, starting tomorrow in Creighton Court.
Walking the properties along with the Richmond Police Department and members of staff. Meeting with the residents. The mayor will probably join us on a couple of the walks, and we just want to be out on the properties and meet as many residents as possible.
Earlier this month, RRHA applied for money from HUD to help plan the future of the courts.
One of our initial focuses will be Gilpin, specifically because of Gilpin having the oldest public housing stock.
Folks in the courts will also soon receive a survey to ask for their input.
Is your desire to return to a revitalized property?
Duncan also plans on testing the water for all the properties to make sure it's safe. He says RRHA is also working on a plan to reduce the number of evictions. Now, the first walk with the CEO is set for tomorrow in Creighton Court from 4 to 6. In the Digital Center, Gretchen Ross, 8 News. Gretchen. It was the high wire stunt the world was watching. The Walenda siblings walking 25 stories above New York's Times Square, crossing over on the wire halfway through. You can see it there. The world watched with bated breath as Liana sat on the wire. Nick stepped over her, and then she got back up and finishes the walk. You can see more on this tomorrow if you didn't catch it live on ABC 8. That's going to be on Good Morning America. Wow, that was pretty intense there in the newsroom. We want to get the latest now in sports from 8 Sports anchor Kirk Narotsky. Could you walk on the high wire like that?
Actually, not really. I did walk on a straight line like that.
Well, good for you.
To the studio,
all right.
So it's pretty similar, right?